We've talked about the Buddy Hield stuff. He was really good when he first got here.
Yeah.
That has kind of worn off. Defense is figuring him out with this offense, losing Tyrese Maxey, also trying to find Tobias Harris, get him back into his rhythm. And the biggest part of it all is we still haven't seen him with Joel Embiid, where we expect him to be really at his best with Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Look, I disagree.
But he hasn't been good.
No, he hasn't been good, but I disagree with that. I think Joel's going to fix him, quote unquote fix, pretty well. I think, like I said, when you start talking about, what's Buddy Hield? Maybe a top 70, top 80 player. Like, nobody's thinking he's a top 30, top 40.
Certainly top 100.
The top 20 players are context independent. Like, they can succeed almost anywhere. They might not reach their apex in certain situations, but they're going to be successful. They're going to be impactful. When you start getting into like the 40 to 100 range, they're very, very context dependent. And Buddy Hield has enough strengths that everybody knows about and has enough flaws that everyone can pick on, where the context that he's placed in is really important. And right now, there's just no reason for a defender to leave him on the perimeter to go help Kelly Oubre drive. And Kelly was good in the second half.
He was.
Even still, there's no reason to help off of in part because Kelly's never going to pass any, anyway.
Not often.
But there's just no reason to help off of a Tobias Harris drive or anything like that. You don't leave Buddy on the perimeter right now, and there's nobody with any kind of, they like to run like a flip play or ghost screens. There's no reason to overreact to a ball handler and give Buddy an ounce of space when you're talking about campaign. And again, campaign was really good here in the third quarter. You'll live with that over giving Buddy, because when Buddy's open and a catch and shoot shot, that's a 45% look for Buddy Hield. No team is going to give that up in a half-court set when they can avoid it. And you need to get to a point where it is like, all right, well, would we rather give what's the base level where you would rather give Buddy Hield a 45% catch and shoot three? And it might just be your superstar MVP, 7-foot, 300-pound center rolling down to the rim of the basket. That's about what you need. When you get to the point where you've got Embiid coming off of pick and rolls and dribble handoffs, when you've got Embiid creating space for him, I think he's going to look much better. Not because he's necessarily going to be a different player, but you're going to be able to open up and unlock his strengths in a way that there's just nobody on the floor right now who can. And again, at that point, I'm going to be complaining about, his defense isn't good enough, things like that. But I think what he can do, at least he'll have a chance to really show.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like when we talk about it's not like they had Embiid in Indy. Well, they had Halliburton, and they had the fastest pace in the league. And one way you get a three-point shooter going is you push an early offense, you get out in transition before the defense gets a chance to set, and he has a lot of open early offense or transition threes where the Sixers don't really do that. They're not built to run like that, in part because they can't get stops, in part because they don't have really great point guard play. They don't force turnovers. So I think there's really nothing right now that is opening up Buddy in a way that will be later on.
Getting a lot of Buddy is trash in the chat, and Buddy will be, fine. Coach Lowell Ricketts says Buddy will be fine alongside Embiid and Maxey, and that was where I was going to go with the Maxey piece. We've already seen him with Maxey, but when Maxey is out, what happens now is most likely he's going to get the number one perimeter defender. Kelly Oubre might get the number two, or depending on how each of them are going that particular night, you're going to get those guys. And when you're talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and they throw Herb Jones on Buddy Hield, Herb Jones is a top 15 type defensive player where if they had 3 teams in all defense, they only have 2, so you get 10 players. He would be, for a good part of his career, an all-NBA defender. He's had that reputation since his rookie season when they made their playoff run after trading for C.J. McCollum. That guy is really good. So when you have that defender and another really good defender, let's say Najee Marshall comes in or Trey Murphy comes into the game, and you have, again, we're talking about those guys playing up to the level. When they're playing up to that level, they're also going to get that best perimeter defender too. And when they do that, you're going to get that kind of player on Buddy Hield. Not an excuse for him, just more of how difficult it is versus when he's out there with Embiid, Maxey, and even Harris, or Oubre, or Melton, and Buddy Hield is out there, he's going to get maybe the second or third, depending on how that goes. And we're talking about double teams on Joel Embiid, where now they're scrambling to get around to him where he has that wide open three-point look. So I think he'll be fine. Right now he's having to play a little bit differently than what's expected. And for a lot of us, the way that we saw him early on when he first got here, he looked really good. And it was like, oh, damn, this might be something that we hadn't seen. Little playmaking there, leading the team in assists and all that stuff. That has gone down. Once again, scouting reports. The scouting report is already there for who he is, but it's also a scouting report when you're on a new team and how things are differently with different personnel versus being in Indiana or Sacramento for a couple of seasons before that, where they can really just defend you how they need to. So he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
It's really a sort of wild here because I remember when they first got him and he had those first 4 games and he was averaging like 24 and 8 or something like that. And we had a show and we're like, well, is Buddy Hield going to be the starter? And I said, well, you know what? My initial inclination is no, he should come off the bench, be a 6-man, DeAnthony Melton start. You have more defensive versatility there. That lineup has had a lot of success. And a lot of people are like, this is the dumbest take I've ever seen. Of course, Buddy's a starter. Now you talk to people in the chat and they're like, well, no, he's not a starter. He can't start. He's not good enough. He's flawed, yada, yada, yada. And now I'm on the other side and it's like, well, no, Buddy, he'll be fine when Embiid comes back. He'll be a useful piece. It is, Buddy's role here is not to create offense. Buddy's role is to make shots and put opponents in impossible decisions. And that impossible decision requires somebody else with the ball who can really create, whether that's Embiid or Maxey. That will happen. When Embiid is, you're trying to double Embiid, they will have to make a really tough decision. Do I help even a little bit, even a half step, even a stunt off of Buddy Hield and give him potentially an open look? That's what you need from Buddy. You don't need Buddy running pick and roll. You don't need Buddy trying to be an 8 assists per game guy. You need him to make the other team really, really think. Because hesitation is what ultimately kills defenses. And right now, there's just no reason to leave him.
We all silly like the mayor.